Chapter 1, Book 4 of Rookwood. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. This reading by Paul Curran. Rookwood by William Harrison Ainsworth. Book 4. The Ride to York. Then one halloo, boys, one loud cheering halloo, to the swiftest of coursers, the gallant, the true. For the sportsman unborn shall the memory bless of the horse of the highwayman, bonny Black Bess. Richard Turpin. Chapter 1. The Rendezvous at Kilburn. Hind. Drink deep, my brave boys, of the bastinado, of stramazons, tinctures, and slie passatas, of the caricado and rare embracado, of blades and rapier hilts of surest guard, of the Vincentio and Burgundian ward. Have we not bravely tossed this bombast foil button? Win gold and wear gold, boys, 'tis we that merit it. Prince of Prigg's Revels. An excellent comedy, replete with various conceits and Tarletonian mirth. The present straggling suburb at the north-west of the metropolis, known as Kilburn, had scarcely been called into existence a century ago, and an ancient hostel with a few detached farmhouses were the sole inhabitants to be found in the present populous vicinage. The place of refreshment for the ruralising cockney of 1737 was a substantial-looking tenement of the good old stamp, with great bay windows and a balcony in front, bearing as its ensign the jovial visage of the lusty knight Jack Falstaff. Shaded by a spreading elm, a circular bench embraced the aged trunk of the tree, sufficiently tempting, no doubt, to incline the wanderer on those dusty ways to rest and be thankful, and to cry encore to a frothing tankard of the best ale to be obtained within the chimes of Bow Bells. Upon a table, green as the privet and holly that formed the walls of the bower in which it was placed, stood a great china bowl, one of those leviathan memorials of bygone wassailry which we may sometimes espy, reversed in token of its desuetude, perched on the top of an old japanned closet, but seldom, if ever, encountered in its proper position at the genial board. All the appliances of festivity were at hand. Pipes and rummers strewed the board. Perfume, subtle yet mellow, as of pine and lime, exhaled from out the bowl, and mingling with the scent of a neighboring bed of mignonette, and the subdued odor of the Indian weed, formed altogether as delectable an atmosphere of sweets as one could wish to inhale on a melting August afternoon. So at least thought the inmates of the Arbor, nor did they by any means confine themselves to the gratification of a single sense. The ambrosial contents of the china bowl proved as delicious to the taste as its bouquet was grateful to the smell, while the eyesight was soothed by reposing on the smooth sward of a bowling green, spread out immediately before it, or in dwelling upon gently undulating meads, terminating at about a mile's distance in the woody spire-crowned heights of Hampstead. At the left of the table was seated, or rather lounged, a slender, elegant-looking young man, with dark, languid eyes, sallow complexion, and features wearing that peculiar, pensive expression often communicated by dissipation, an expression which, we regret to say, is sometimes found more pleasing than it ought to be in the eyes of the gentle sex. Habited in a light summer riding dress, fashioned according to the taste of the time, of plain and unpretending material, and rather under than overdressed, he had perhaps on that very account perfectly the air of a gentleman. There was altogether an absence of pretension about him, which, combined with great apparent self-possession, contrasted very forcibly with the vulgar assurance of his showy companions. The figure of the youth was slight, even to fragility, giving little outward manifestation of the vigor of frame he in reality possessed. This spark was a no less distinguished personage than Tom King, a noted high tobygloak of his time, who obtained, from his appearance and address, the sobriquet of the Gentleman Highwayman. Tom was, indeed, a pleasant fellow in his day. His career was brief, but brilliant. Your meteors are ever momentary. He was a younger son of a good family, had good blood in his veins, though not a groat in his pockets. According to the old song, when he arrived at man's estate, it was all the estate he had, and all the estate he was ever likely to have. Nevertheless, if he had no income, he contrived, as he said, to live as if he had the mines of Peru at his control, a miracle not solely confined to himself. For a moneyless man, he had rather expensive habits. He kept his 3 nags, and if fame does not belie him, a like number of mistresses. Nay, if we are to place any faith in certain scandalous chronicles to which we have had access, he was for some time the favoured lover of a celebrated actress, who, for the time, supplied him with the means of keeping up his showy establishment. But things could not long hold thus. Tom was a model of infidelity, and that was the only failing his mistress could not overlook. She dismissed him at a moment's notice. Unluckily, too, he had other propensities which contributed to involve him. He had a taste for the turf, a taste for play, was well known in the hundreds of Drury, and cut no mean figure at Howell's and the faro tables there anent. He was the glory of the Smyrna, D'Osyndar's, and other chocolate houses of the day, and it was at this time he fell into the hands of certain dexterous sharpers, by whom he was at first plucked, and subsequently patronized. Under their tuition he improved wonderfully. He turned his wit and talent to some account. He began to open his eyes. His 9 days' blindness was over. The dog saw. But, in spite of his quickness, he was at length discovered, and ejected from Howell's in a manner that left him no alternative. He must either have called out his adversary, or have gone out himself. He preferred the latter, and took to the road, and in his new line he was eminently successful. Fortunately, he had no scruples to get over. Tom had what Sir Walter Scott happily denominates an indistinct notion of meum and tuum, and became confirmed in the opinion that everything he could lay hands upon constituted lawful spoil. And then, even those he robbed admitted that he was the most gentlemanlike highwayman they had ever the fortune to meet with, and trusted they might always be so lucky. So popular did he become upon the road, that it was accounted a distinction to be stopped by him. He made a point of robbing none but gentlemen, and Tom's shade would quarrel with us were we to omit them ladies. His acquaintance with Turpin was singular, and originated in a rencontre. Struck with his appearance, Dick presented a pistol, and bade King deliver. The latter burst into a laugh, and an explanation immediately ensued. Thenceforward they became sworn brothers, the Pylades and Orestes of the road, and though seldom seen together in public, had many a merry moonlight ride in company. Tom still maintained 3 mistresses, his valet, his groom, Tiger we should have called him, and many a change of clothes besides, says his biographer, with which he appeared more like a lord than a highwayman. And what more, we should like to know, would a lord wish to have? Few younger sons, we believe, can boast so much, and it is chiefly on their account, with some remote view to the benefit of the unemployed youth of all professions, that we have enlarged so much upon Tom King's history. The road, we must beg to repeat, is still open. The chances are greater than they ever were. We fully believe it is their only road to preferment, and we are sadly in want of highwaymen. Fancy Tom lounging at D'Osyndar's, carelessly tapping his boots on the steps. There he stands. Is he not a devilish good-looking, gentleman-like sort of fellow? You could never have taken him for a highwayman but for our information. A waiter appears. Supper is ordered at 12, a broiled chicken, and a bottle of Burgundy. His groom brings his nags to the door. He mounts. It is his custom to ride out on an evening. He is less liable to interruption. At Marylebone Fields, now the Regent's Park, his groom leaves him. He has a mistress in the neighborhood.